Welcome back to another episode of Elude Citadel. This is episode 5, and we're reading The Richest Man in Babylon. We're on page 17. I don't know actually what chapter this is. It's probably like chapter 3. Anyways, the title is 7 Curses for a Lean Purse. And without further ado, I'll just get right into it. The glory of Babylon endures. Down through the ages, its reputation comes to us as the richest of cities. Its treasures is fabulous. Yet it was not always so. The riches of Babylon were the results of wisdom of its people. They first had to learn how to become wealthy. When the good king Sargon returned to Babylon after defeating his enemies, the Elamites, he was confronted with a serious situation. The royal chancellor explained to the king thus: "After many years of great prosperity brought to our people because of your majesty built the great irrigation canals and the mighty temples of the gods, now that these works are completed, the people seem unable to support themselves. The laborers are without employment, the merchants have few customers, the farmers are unable to sell their produce, the people have not enough gold to buy food." "But where has all the gold gone that we spent for these great improvements?" demanded the king. "It has found its way, I fear," responded the chancellor, "into the possession of a very few rich men in our city. It filtered through the fingers of most of our people as quickly as goat's milk goes through the strainer. Now that the stream of gold has ceased to flow, most of our people have nothing for their earnings." The king was thoughtful for some time. Then he asked, "Why should so few men be able to acquire all the gold?" "Because they know how," replied the chancellor. "One may not condemn a man for succeeding because he knows how. Neither may one with justice take away from a man that has fairly earned to give men of less ability." "But why?" demanded the king. "Should not all the people learn how to accumulate gold and therefore become themselves rich and prosperous?" "Quite possible, your excellency, but who can teach them? Certainly not the priests, because they know not of money-making." "Who knows best in all of our city how to become wealthy, Chancellor?" asked the king. "Thy question answers itself, your majesty. Who has amassed the greatest wealth in Babylon?" "Well said, my able Chancellor. It is Arcad. He is the richest man in Babylon. Bring him before me on the morrow." Upon the following day, the king had decreed Arcad appear before him, straight and sprightly despite his 60 years and 10. "Arcad," spoke the king, "is it true thou art the richest man in Babylon?" "So it is reported, your majesty, and no man disputes it." "How becomest thou so wealthy?" "By taking advantage of opportunities available to all citizens of our good city." "Thou hadst nothing to start with?" "Only a great desire for wealth. Besides this, nothing at all." "Arcad," continued the king, "our city has in its very unhappy state because a few men know how to acquire wealth and therefore monopolize it, while the masses of our citizens lack the knowledge of how to keep any part of the gold they receive. It is my desire that Babylon be the wealthiest city in the world. Therefore, it must be a city of many wealthy men. Therefore, we must teach all the people how to acquire riches. Tell me, Arcad, is there any secret to acquiring wealth? Can it be taught?" "It is practical, your majesty. That which one man knows can be taught to the others." The king's eyes glowed. "Arcad, thou speakest words I wish to hear. Wilt thou lend thyself to this great cause? Wilt thou teach thy knowledge to a school for teachers, each of whom shall teach others until they are enough trained to teach these truths to every worthy subject in my domain?" Arcad bowed and said, "I am a humble servant to command. Whatever knowledge I possess, I will gladly give for the betterment of my fellow men and the glory of my king. Let your good chancellor arrange for me a class of 100 men, and I will teach to them those 7 curses which did fatten my purse, than which there were none leaner in all of Babylon." A fortnight later, in compliance with the king's command, the chosen 100 assembled in the great hall of the Temple of Learning, seated upon colorful rings in a semicircle. Arcad sat beside a small taboret upon which smoked a sacred lamp, sending forth a strange and pleasing odor. "Behold, the richest man in Babylon," whispered a student, nudging his neighbor as Arcad arose. He is but a man, even as the rest of us. As a dutiful subject of our great king, Arkad began, I stand before you in service because once I was a poor youth who did greatly desire gold, and because I found knowledge that enabled me to acquire it, he asks that I impart unto you my knowledge. I started my fortune in the humblest of way. I had no advantage not enjoyed as fully by you and every citizen in Babylon. The first storehouse of my treasure was a well purse. I loathed its useless emptiness. I desired it to be round and full, clinking with the sound of gold. Therefore I sought every remedy for a lean purse. I found 7. To you who are assembled before me, shall I explain the 7 curses for a lean purse, which I do recommend to all men who desire much gold. Each day for 7 days I'll explain to you one of the 7 remedies. Listen attentively to the knowledge that I will impart. Debate it with me. Discuss it among yourselves. Learn these lessons thoroughly, that you may also plant your own purse the seed of wealth. For first must each of you start wisely to build a fortune of his own. Then wilt thou become competent, and only then to teach these truths to others. I shall teach you in simple ways how to fatten your purse. This is the first step leading to a temple of wealth, and no man may climb who cannot plant his feet firmly upon the first step. We shall now consider the first cure. The first cure. Start thy purse to fattening. Arkad addressed the thoughtful man in the second row. My good friend, at what craft workest thou? I, replied the man, am a scribe and carve records upon clay tablets. Even at such labor did I myself earn my first coppers. Therefore thou hast the same opportunity to build a fortune. He spoke to a florid-faced man farther back. Pray tell also what thou earn to Pray tell also what dost thou to earn thy bread? I, responded this man, am a meat butcher. I do buy goats the farmers raise and kill them, and sell the meat to the housewives and the hides to the sandal makers. Because thou dost also labor and earn, thou hast every advantage to succeed that I did possess. In this way did Arkad proceed to find out how each man labored and earned his living. When he had done questioning them, he said, Now, my students, ye can see that there are many trades and labors at which men may earn coins. Each of these ways of earning a stream of gold from which the worker doth divert by his labors a portion to his own purse. Therefore into the purse of each of you flows a stream of coins, large or small, according to his ability. Is it not so? Thereupon they agreed that it was so. Then, continued Arkad, if each of you desireth to build himself a fortune, is it not wise to start by utilizing that source of wealth which he had already established? To this they agreed. Then Arkad turned to a humble man who had declared himself an egg merchant. If thou select one of thy baskets and put into it each morning 10 eggs, and take from it each evening 9 eggs, what will happen eventually? It will become in time overflowing. Why? Because each day I put one more egg in than I take out. Arkad turned to the class with a smile. Does any man here have a lean purse? First they looked amused, then they laughed. Lastly they waved their purses in jest. All right, he continued. Now I shall tell thee the first remedy I learned to cure a lean purse. Do exactly as I have suggested to the egg merchant. For every 10 coins placed within thy purse, take out for to use but 9. Thy purse will start to fatten at once, and its increasing weight will feel good in thy hand and bring satisfaction to thy soul. Deride not what I say because of its simplicity. Truth is always simple. I told thee I would tell how I built my fortune. This was my beginning. I too carried a lean purse and cursed it because there was not within to satisfy my desires. But when I began to take out from my purse but 9 parts of 10 I put in, it began to fatten. So will thine. Now I will tell a strange truth, the reason for which I do not know. When I ceased to pay out more than 9/10 of my earnings, I managed to get along just well. I was not shorter than before. Also, ere long, did coins come to me more easily than before. Surely it's the law of the gods that unto him who keepeth and spendeth not a certain part of all earnings shall gold come more easily. Likewise, him whose purse is empty does gold avoid. Which desireth thou the most? Is it the gratification of thy desires each day? A jewel? A bit of finery? A better raiment? More food? Things quickly gone and forgotten? Or is it substantial belongings, gold, lands, herds, merchandise, income-bringing investments? The coins thou takest from thy purse, bring them first. The coins thou leavest within, it will bring the latter. This, my students, was the first cure I did discover for my lean purse. For each 10 coins I put in, I spend only 9. Debate this amongst yourselves. If any man proves it untrue, tell me upon the morrow when we shall meet again. The second cure: control thy expenditures. Some of your members, my students, have asked me this: how can a man keep 1/10 of all his earnings in his purse when all the coins he earns are not enough for his necessary expenses? So did Arcad address his students upon the second day. Yesterday, how many of thee carried lean purses? All of us, answered the class. Yet thou do not all earn the same. Some earn much more than others. Some have larger families to support. Yet all purses were equally lean. Now, I will tell thee an unusual truth about men and sons of men. It is this: that which each of us calls our necessary expenses, quote unquote, will always grow to equal our incomes unless we protest to the contrary. Confuse not the necessary expenses with thy desires. Each of you, together with your good families, have more desires than your earnings can gratify. Therefore, are thy earnings spent to gratify these desires in so far as they will go? Still thou retainest many ungratified desires. All men are burdened with some more desires than they can gratify. Because of my wealth thinkest thou I may gratify every desire? 'Tis a false idea. There are limits to my time. There are limits to my strength. There are limits to the distance that I may travel. There are limits to what I may eat. There are limits to the zest which I may enjoy. I say to you, just as a weed grows in a field wherever the farmer leaves space for the roots, even so freely do desires grow in men whenever there is a possibility of being gratified. Thy desires are a multitude, and those that thou mayest gratify are but few. Study thoughtfully thy accustomed habits of living. Herein may often both be found and accepted expenses that may be widely reduced or eliminated. Let thy motto be 100% of appreciated value demanded for each coin spent. Therefore engrave upon the clay each thing for thou which desire to spend. Select those that are necessary and others that are possible through expenditure of 9/10 of thy income. Cross out the rest and consider them but a part of a great multitude of desires that must go unsatisfied, and regret them not. Budget then thy necessary expenses. Touch not the 1/10 that is fattening thy purse. Let this be thy great desire that is being fulfilled. Keep working with thy budget. Keep adjusting it to help thee. Make it thy first assistant in defending thy fattening purse. Hereupon one of the students, wearing a robe of red and gold, arose and said, I am a free man. I believe that this is my right to enjoy the good things of life. Therefore I do rebel against the slavery of a budget which determines just how much I may spend and for what. I feel it would take much pleasure from my life and make me little more than a pack ass to carry a burden. To him